Hi, everyone. I am Connie Zach, co-owner of Sunlighten, and doing one of my favorite events, which is Enlighten with Sunlighten, where we interview experts in the wellness industry. And I could be more excited to bring on today's guest, who is Ashley Black. Ashley is the #1 national best-selling author of The Cellulite Myth, as well as the inventor of the famous FasciaBlaster. Welcome, Ashley. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How are you? Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to talk about my sauna.
Oh, well, we'll have to talk about that. But I'm doing great, and I'm really thrilled to have you on the show. You have such an amazing story. You've overcome so much in your life, and I can't wait to have you share your inspiration with others. I'd love to get started with telling more about your story. You specialize in fascia tissue, and you're a leader in the industry, and you've overcome so many challenges. I'd love to hear from you, how you got into that, and especially what led you to specialize in fascia tissue.
I mean, I don't think many people set out to specialize.
Right. It's kind of like me in infrared saunas. Like, it wasn't like I was born and I'm going to go into the infrared industry, right?
Especially since, I feel like you guys are, if you look at the time that your company began to explode and when I was coming about, it's, 25 years ago, no one even talked about this, this way of preventative medicine or, taking care of our tissue. Massages were considered something that was like a luxury and for a spa and things like that. So we definitely have come a long way as an industry. But for me, all of this was about my personal story that sort of landed me here. So I'll go through it really quickly. This is the 1-minute version. So I was born with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And so right from the get-go, I had parents who were very traditional medicine. They would take me to get all the medications that are now banned, all those anti-inflammatories, and they did all kinds of shots. And I just remember lots of needles, and I hated that as a kid. And around age 8, I really started rebelling because I was a competitive gymnast already. And I was trying to beat that system so that I could, go to the gymnastics meet. So I already started doing things that I always laugh. I don't know if you remember this, but the, Sports Illustrated was like the way that we got our information. And I was reading about how these athletes would do hot and cold contrast. And so I started that as a very young child. It made it where I was able to be competitive in gymnastics and then in dance, so I felt somewhat healed. And then when I was 29, put it in perspective, I'm 50. I was stricken with this flesh-eating bacteria inside of my bones, and I basically lost all of my right hip. It's all metal bolts. I've got I have a real scary X-ray. Yeah, and it was actually an entirely near-death experience. But when I came out of that whole experience, I already had that attitude from my childhood, like, there really has to be a better way. And for me, where I really found the most success, and I went all over the world trying all kinds of crazy therapies, but having tissue manipulation was the thing that made me feel the best. So my whole interest in even getting into tissue manipulation, which eventually became really hyper-focused on the fascia and the invention of the FasciaBlaster, but it all came from me just trying to, be functional and raise my children and be able to move around and not be in excruciating pain. So that's the genesis of how I got into fascia. And it's been a wild ride ever since, that was 20 years ago.
So what was your inspiration to do this on your own? Because 20 years ago, I know, because that's when we started, well, more than that, started our company. It was a totally different world. So, what was your mindset? Tell us more, give us a little bit of glimpse into Ashley.
For me, talk about a purpose-driven life and a purpose-driven business. I felt like, why doesn't everybody know this? And why isn't, I don't know, I was like, why isn't Dr. Oz, or why isn't, why does no one know about this? And I write about this pretty extensively in the book. It's not that people haven't tried. It's just that you probably know this, there's no money in people healing themselves. You know what I mean? And so there's very little research dollars. And, so for me, I set out sink, swim, fail, go bankrupt, whatever. I was going to get this information about fascia to people who needed it. So the business and the success that we've had there was always secondary to this, message that I've had for a very, very long time, and listen, to this day, some people, I'm still the crazy lady with the plastic stick, and I'm okay with that. I always feel like when the student is ready, the teacher arrives, and I have very interesting, groundbreaking, mind-blowing information about the human body. And if you're ready for it, I'm happy to deliver it, but I'm out of the business of trying to convince anyone of anything. So.
Got it. Well, that's really helpful. Well, let's talk a little bit. I actually have it here.
Hey.
Yay. I want to know more from you about, so first of all, like why did you invent this? I mean, this is like inventing something, I know from, doing this business and inventing, and it's so much work. It's so difficult. I mean, it's just incredible. And so you did this and you were so passionate about it. Tell us about that part, about, what led you, to invent. But then I also want to hear more about exactly how does it work? What is the protocol? Like, teach me. I'm your student and I'm ready to learn.
All right, let's do it. So keep in mind that, so when I came out of this whole near-death experience and I found for myself that there was a better way, I was on fire at that point. I was like, I want to tell anyone that would listen. And so I, took it to my local chiropractor, but he wasn't just a local chiropractor. He was working with Olympians. I lived in Houston, Texas at the time. That was right when the franchise came. So I sort of stumbled into that industry as a body worker. But now, I've got over 20 years of hands-on experience, probably, 30,000 hours of trying to do this with everything. And in fact, the first, fascia tools we used were drumsticks. And I'm talking like
wow.
drums with. In fact, I'm looking at my closet because I still have one in there. But, we were just looking, me, and then I had trained about 70 people at the time to be therapists. And we were just looking for a faster way to impact the fascia tissue. So let's have a brief timeout just for your viewers. So the fascia tissue is something that everybody really knows about. They just don't know that they know about it. When we talk about the collagen fibers or the extracellular matrix, meaning outside of the cells, what sort of holds us all together, that is the fascia. Okay. So we're just now starting to get to the education part where people are calling it what it is. But if you picture muscle fibers kind of like this, the fascia literally surrounds every single fiber of the muscle. So it ends up creating a sheet, over the muscles. I always say we don't have X number of muscles. Like, we have one muscle that's separated by the fascia, and that's kind of how it works. But because each fiber is surrounded, then we also have fascia that goes through our muscles. And it's not just the muscles, it's our brains, it's our organs, it's literally everywhere. So for me, when someone's like, what is fascia? I'm like, it sounds like when somebody says, what is blood? I mean, it's that significant. It's such an incredible system of the body. And when we get into the saunas, I would love to talk a little bit about the science of the mitochondria and being 3 centimeters in, because that's very important. Guess what is 3 centimeters in? Hello, the fascia. So for us, when this invention came out, it was simply because we were trying it with our knuckles, we were trying it with our elbows, we were climbing on top of NFL players and digging our knees into them and everything, and we're like, we need a better way. Oh, I think I'm still on, but I don't know about I don't know about our host. Are you there? Uh-oh, I don't have audio on you, sweetie. Okay, I hear audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
So I hope you heard all of that.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it was to simulate what we were doing with our hands, because we were clearly doing something different. Me and my therapist were being flown all over the country, to work with pro ball players and celebrities. And that doesn't happen unless you're, really making an impact. Now, that was a decade ago, and now we've scientifically studied what the fascia blaster does. And so we know so much more. So just to cut to the results of the study, I think the most significant thing I'd love to show, if you have 2 seconds here.
I would love it.
We're going to look inside the body, because to me, it's like, we don't need to talk about if it works. It works, okay? But the question is, how does it work, and how are we proving that, I guess? And, when we look at, so this is fascia tissue on an ultrasound, okay? And it's kind of crappy fascia. If you look at how it's kind of unorganized, and like, in here, there's some, what we would call fascial adhesions, so as we age, this just happens, and as we have imbalances, our diet, it's a system of the body, so everything affects the fascia. But when you use the fascia blaster, and again, you don't have to know anything about ultrasounds to see, okay, that is smooth, supple. You can see new collagen fibers being laid down. This
That's
top
beautiful.
part, isn't that amazing? So
yeah,
so
it's a
this
great
is our,
comparison.
if you see that little yellow line there, that's measuring the fat, and you can see the fascia that runs through the fat. And then the white lines going this way is the structural fascia that is over top of the muscles. And then all that white stuff is what's inside the muscles. So again, when we talk about saunas and detoxification, it helps to have this visual to see what is happening. This was just a 90-day result. So imagine if this was part of someone's life like it is mine. Sauna and blasting at the same time is a regular part of my life. And I really believe that if I just stopped altogether, ate a bunch of crap, had 10 drinks, I could be bedridden within a month, So it's all about like keeping your body at its optimal state for whatever we're working with. And it's, people say, but I don't have bad fascia, or I don't have cellulite. And it's like, it's not about that. Everybody, as we age, starts to decline in the quality of their tissue. And this is a way that you can stop it and reverse it and actually regenerate it. That's what we found in our studies. So we were like, okay, this is awesome. And in addition, we did measure in the blood. So just to run through them real quickly, yes. We reduced the C-reactive protein, which I know Sunlighten is all about reducing the inflammation. We saw an increase in PICP markers, which is just a fancy term for measuring collagen production, which we saw. So that's huge for skin tightness and things like that. We also saw an increase in irisin, which is like the young person hormone, the exercise hormone as it's known. And then, just knowing what we know about the body and seeing those ultrasounds, our blood and our nerves are housed inside of this fascia system. So if you have good fascia, it just means that you're going to have better blood flow. You're going to have better nerve activity just by the nature of, it's like doing a renovation inside your house and outside your house. So the fascia is what encases everything. So that's sort of like the outside of the house, and through the nature of the way that fascia works, everything on the inside is going to function better. So blood and nerves is pretty important, people.
Yeah, that's just everything is fascinating. I love that you share the results of the study, and because that's really important for people to understand how it works, and then also scientifically, what specifically it affects and the impact. I would love to know. So we know now that it works. We know how it works. So I don't have, I'm just being like hypothetically, I don't have one yet. So if I get one, then now what do I do? When do I use it? How do I use it? How often do I use it?
Well, since we're talking to the Sunlighten owners, which is like, fascia blaster heaven for us, blast in your sauna. And in terms of the protocols, I always say, when in doubt, blast it out, and something is better than nothing. So for me personally, I do about 2 15-minute sessions, because that's about how long I like to be in the sauna anyway, and I take breaks. And some days we have a variety of fascia blasters. So this is one of our larger ones. So some days I do, a full body blast with this, and some days I may just focus on the thighs. Okay, so the general rule of thumb is to do it until you turn really red, until it feels good. I don't like to give, we say 3 to 5 minutes per area, just so that people have a general guideline. But we have people who blast for an hour and a half, and then we have people who just do a few minutes a day. So it's totally dependent on, how well your body's responding to it, what stage in the restoration you are. I think people tend to use it more in the beginning. And then once, we already saw what happened in 90 days. So then after that, it's just like a little bit of maintenance and, staying ahead of the curve. So, we're talking about something super, super simple.
So is there any danger to doing it, or any issues with doing it too long? Can you speak
I'm so glad that you asked that, because, we actually went to market before we had the scientific studies, and we had people reporting of like having spotting or, a change in hormone and things like that. So we're like, okay, we really need to see what's happening here, right? And so what we did was we took the patients and we put them on the table, and we had 2 therapists, and we literally blasted the crap out of them for like an hour. So that's basically like 2 hours of hardcore blasting, which I don't think anybody, I hope, wouldn't do more than that. And we tested their blood before that, after that, and then 3 days after that, and then 30, 60, 90. And it was so interesting because we tested all of the detoxification systems like liver enzymes and things like that. And whatever is coming out is being metabolized by the body, because it didn't show in any of those safety markers for detoxification. So, but, just to put it out to your viewers, we have everything from people crying, from like an emotional release, to people who break out in a rash. We've had people who quit smoking 20 years ago that had smoke smell, so the name of the game, and this is the game you're in as well, is that you don't want these things storing in your tissues, and using a combination of sauna and blasting is so beautiful, because it's the fast track to that detoxification. And with the amount of sweating that you're doing, I think it's just 100 times better hot. I mean, this is not something new for my brand. I'm constantly saying it's a night and day difference to do it hot. You can do it cold, but in the sauna, particularly in infrared sauna, it's just so effective.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. First, I just wanted to do like a 10-second housekeeping. I see a lot of questions, and I promise you I will get to your questions. We will make sure that we answer all of them before we leave. And we also go on, just so you know, for those of you, I saw somebody that said they can't stay, but they really want to watch it later. You can always ask questions later as well, and we monitor and we'll get back to you. So I want to make sure you know that. I just want to keep the conversation going because I have lots of questions.
For sure. And also, we're definitely going to be offering some special big 40% off discount packages for your viewers.
Oh, fantastic.
If you're bailing, come back, because we're going to be dropping all of that in the comments. So.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Because I can tell just from all the questions, people are really interested in learning more and getting one, especially those who already have a sauna. So let's talk about Sunlighten's sauna with Fasciablasting. And I really want to hear your take on why. I mean, I obviously know a ton about infrared and how Sunlighten works, and what I'm really fascinated is I'm really fascinated with the whole stacking effect of the two together. And while when you speak to that, I'd love you to talk about, I heard you make an analogy of, if you can't, like the Sunlighten sauna sweats out toxins, and FasciaBlasters are like the broom. Like, I'd love to expand on what exactly that means. So kind of a lot of different questions thrown at you, but
no, that's okay. I mean, I have like my own little marketing of Sunlighten saunas that I think my audience can really resonate. But I think one of the first things is your ability to have the infrared spectrum and target 3 millimeters into the body. So when we talk about that, like, I wish we could cut me open to where we could, because it really is, we have, well, depending on who you ask, 7 layers of dermis. And then we have a very thick layer of fascia, and even the lower parts of the dermis are made of fascia. And then we go into fasciarama when we start getting into our muscles. So when we're going 3 centimeters in to target the tissue, which is what your marketing says, then that's what we're talking about. We're whether Sunlighten knows it or not, the saunas are targeting the fascia tissue for detoxification, purification, which is great because that's really where it can happen. The fascia also houses the lymphatic system. So when I think about somebody using just a sauna, it's like, yeah, they're able to sweat that out. And yes, they can, it is pulling toxins out. But imagine if you could then start flushing them out or actually restoring the fascia at the same time. So if you go back to what I was showing with the ultrasound, we're first of all, like, opening up the pathway for detoxification with the fascia blaster by its nature. But then by combining the two, it's like the toxins are coming out and they're being kind of forced out and then they're being brushed along, right? Mm-hmm. All of that is it's just amazing. It's incredible. I actually think that we can heal things beyond all of our wildest imagination. So maybe one day we can partner up and do some studies. But
yeah, no, that would be fascinating because I completely agree that conceptually, as well as scientifically, being able to affect the body while you're inside your sunlight, like actually do other things, I mean, I always encourage people to, you're going to be in there, so you might as well do other things while you're in there and get, be efficient and get more done. So I think that is, it makes perfect sense that you should, it's so easy to take in, right? Like, and just sit there.
You're already sweaty. You barely need any oil. We're talking about this process, you guys. That's all you do. I think people want it to be, more high tech, but it's just not the way it works. If there was a higher tech way to do it, we would do it. But this is the way. And not rolling, scrubbing with this is the way that it works,
So like literally, Ashley, is it like this?
I mean, you can go up and down and side to side. I mean, we didn't have anything but this original fascia blaster for years and years and years. And you can do your arms with it. You can do your abs, your chest, your neck on all sides, legs, glutes, back, everything can be done with the original blaster, but honestly, for your viewers, I would encourage a much bigger one with the smaller claws because the smaller claws are in more of the surface tissue. So it's kind of like if the purpose is to detox, then this is a really good one, the big paddle blaster. And if you're wanting to get deeper into the muscle tissues for more, like, let's just call it a myofascial massage, that's when you want to go with a bigger claw. So we always say small claw, then big claw. And then we actually have some stuff to do trigger point therapy. I know it sounds like a lot of information, but it really isn't. I have tutorials that are 5 minutes long and they walk you right through it. Literally all you have to do is Google Ashley Black tutorials and you'll see more of me than you ever want to know. And our staff is really good. We have a big social media team. And, if you say, hey, I am interested in, working on my cellulite on my legs, I'm interested in, I don't know, a shoulder injury, and I just want overall detoxification, what should I use? They can send back exactly, what the customer needs. It is very much a personalized thing. We try to offer kits on our site that makes sense, but we also do offer that personalized attention.
That's great. So we'll put that in the notes, Ashley Black tutorial, right? Because it's really helpful. So I want to go back to that, the order for a second, just because I want to understand. So you start, your suggestion is for detox, is that right? So you'd start with the small claw, like the one you showed up.
This is just one of them, but we're talking about this. We call this the claw.
Okay.
For reasons. Right. So small claws, it just makes sense. You're going from the outside deeper and deeper to the inside. So you start with something small, and that's just going to kind of talk to the lymphatic system, sort of get the blood and everything going, but it doesn't penetrate very far into the body. And so once you get all of the tissue warmed up, then you go in with something deeper, like the larger claw, which obviously you can, push this all the way into the muscle tissue.
Okay. And then talk about, you introduced the trigger point. Do you have an example of that there or no?
Just forgive me. This is live. So
yeah, no, I'd love to see, but
I keep giving away all of my my tools to my neighbors. I live in Costa Rica and we don't sell it here. So I always have people at my door like, can I get a fascia blaster? This is prototype. So it's actually,
I love that. Okay.
But these are for trigger point therapy. And we have a technique. It's very advanced. It's called poke and wiggle wiggle because that's what you do. You would go into the muscle tissue like this and you push and then you wiggle. But what's amazing is I have seen this tool on fluoroscopy done right next to deep needle acupuncture, and it's doing the exact same thing, you know?
Oh, wow.
So we're talking about being able to kind of get and grind into, you know, fascial adhesions and dysfunctions really deep. And it's amazing the way fascia works when you're in an area of the shoulder. For instance, it might shoot to the jaw, you know, because the fascia is all connected. So it's just, you know, it's just an amazing thing. We call this the refining tool. So it's like you try to get it with blasting, but then if you have any trashy tissue left, then you can go back with this. So really all we're doing here is we're trying to simulate the very expensive treatments that I used to do. You know, instead of going to your therapist twice a week at $500 to $700 an hour, because that's what people were paying, you could do this at home. And I will tell you that doing regular fascia blasting at home, you know, 15 minutes a day while you're in the sauna is going to be more effective than running to the therapist. And I say that from the therapist standpoint. So it's much, much easier just to stay ahead of the curve with your tissue. And what we saw in the study is that the tissue, there's a fancy word, remodeling. That's what the actual study says, is that the tissue at some point starts regenerating itself. So it's kind of like the fascia blasting is a mechanism to set off that process. We always thought it was like a hairbrush, you know, like you're using the blaster to comb out knots. But it turns out that the body has, you know, even more of an ability to heal. And when you start to palpate the tissue in this manner, it sets off that chain reaction of restoration, which is super exciting because it leads you to theorize like, well, how deep can it go? Like, can it affect a bladder? Can it infect inside the brain? You know, so in theory, we think so. You know, we hope so. We certainly have, you know, anecdotal stories of all kinds of amazing things happening. But it's just really to empower people to do this to themselves and for themselves.
Oh, it's just awesome. You've done such a great job bringing this to market, and your explanations are fantastic. The trigger point, the poke, wiggle, wiggle tool, I love that. Did you say that's a prototype? So is it available?
No, this is, okay. So funny. This is probably 10 years old.
Okay.
So for your followers, this will be a white tool, just like all of these. I actually think it has like a little gold band. And we put these nugget tips on FasciaBlasters. Like we have one called the Mini 1 and the Mini 2 to where it's an all-in-one blasting tool. So you can do the fascia blaster technique, and then on the sides there's the tips. So I definitely recommend getting one of each, even if they all are in one tool, so that you can do that process. Small claw, big claw, trigger point.
Got it. And did you say there was a package that has all of them?
Oh, sure. Yep. Even just our beginner's kit. So yeah, my social team will get all over it and make sure everybody gets the kits and, you know, a nice discount. We really do. When we do stuff like this, we like to go out of our way for for the followers of someone else. You know, we want to roll out the red carpet. Yeah, I can see everybody answering now. I see some of my fans. I see.
No, I appreciate all the answers, and I appreciate the exactly where to go, because I know people are going to want to, you know, take advantage of your discounts that you're going to offer at the end, as well as just get. I mean, I think it makes sense to get the package, you know, all of them, so that way you have one for every certain, you know, reason. I would like to
start blasting. You'll know. I always tell people, you know, there's a reason the Bible says, "Physician, heal thyself." We know what we need. We can feel it. When we're doing it, people will be like, "Ooh, what is that?" And it's like, yeah, that's something that needs to be addressed. People will be like, "Is that normal for it to feel crunchy or like shoot a nerve pain?" No, it's not normal. Our tissue is supposed to feel completely smooth and supple. Like I can't even imagine how differently we would all age if we could maintain that. So I love the idea of putting the tools in the hands of the self-physician, and letting them go. And what'll happen is once they start blasting, they'll go, oh, I wish I had a single handle one that was this shape. And then, we go and invent it. So we've had about 7 years of lots of, feedback from our customers about what sizes and shapes and things that they want. We're always coming out with new, probably just like the saunas.
Yeah. It's like, since back in the day in the basement, when we first started, as soon as we'd start one, people would write and, let us know, hey, could you consider this? And then we introduced the solo, and, and now, we have impulse. And I wanted to bring up, before I turn over to questions, because we have so many, so I'll have to go through the screen. I want to make sure and get a lot of these questions answered. But one of the things I really wanted to mention as far as best practices is in our impulse, and you could fascia blast in any of our saunas. So you don't have to have all 3 wavelengths. However, a benefit of impulse, which is the product that has all 3 wavelengths separately, so it has near infrared, mid infrared, and far infrared independently. Yeah. And then we have 6 different programs. I would really recommend doing either the pain relief program or the detox program with your fascia blaster, because those are the programs that are going to allow the deepest penetration, and those are programs that are going to help get everything moving the most. And so if you love, which, I know I can tell from all of the people watching, they love their sauna. And if you love just your sauna experience now and you're not doing anything else, when you introduce this, it's going to be just such an amazing experience, because you're going to be moving everything around and getting it out, so much faster than if you didn't do it. And I can't recommend enough, stacking.
Stacking. And I'd love to speak briefly to your spiritual people, because I do a lot of work now. I'm writing a new book. It's all about female entrepreneurship.
Yay! My favorite thing.
It's so exciting. It's actually for sale. It's called B, From Passion and Purpose to Product and Prosperity. But, I'm a big believer in manifestation. And me personally, when I get in my sauna, I let it heat up while I'm in there. And that's the chance that I take to do visualization and meditation. You're in there, it's quiet, don't turn on the music just yet. But one of the things I want to point out about transitioning from kind of that visualization and sort of quiet moment, prayer, whatever you want to call it, in the morning, is that once the sauna starts to get hot, number one, all of that blood starts to go to your head. So you're getting oxygen to your brain. It's a great way to wake up. And then, when we talk about blockages, like people having physical blockages, that's what the Fascia Blaster is there for, because the fascia system is a electrical system. It is where messages are being sent. It's just like the nervous system. It's communicating very, very fast. And so when you're palpating it, practicing self-love, and actually physically removing blockages, it's just an amazing way to stack all types of good things. So it's like your power hour. So I wouldn't even consider doing it out without my sauna. I'm going to hit refresh. I don't know. I still see questions coming in, but oh, there you are.
There we are.
I'm so glad it is your tech and not mine.
Just so you know, we heard everything.
It's always me.
Heard the stacking, the benefits of it and everything. So while I wasn't on camera, we could hear everything that was there. So we didn't miss a beat as far as the content and the tips, which I love, love, love. So yeah. So, and also, just in addition to fascia blasting and sauna, you can, if you wanted to stretch, do yoga or do exercise prior to, you have to listen to your body, and you pay attention to your body, of course, that, if you start to get lightheaded or anything, you should stop. But in general, I have really moved. COVID really, helped kind of reprioritize our wellness, perspective, as well as the amount of time we had to be able to do this. And so, I've never spent so much time in my sauna, over COVID. And so I was doing all sorts of trying all sorts of different things, and noticing that if I went for a run and I'm sweating and so I'm already sweating, and then I get inside my sauna, wow, like what an amazing experience. Or if I stretch while I'm in there, and then fascia blast. I mean, just layering it on is such a great idea, and it exponentially gets the results faster, and it's just a more efficient process. So I highly recommend it. I love Julie's comment that says, I will not work on a client without 30 minutes in a Sunlighten sauna first. That's so true. So I want to make sure we get to some questions. So I saw, let's see, hold on. Can you go back? I saw one about protocols, I thought. So we mentioned the protocols as far as, you said at least 15 minutes, or, you said any amount of time is good, but at least.
We say, here's our protocol, and it's very open for the reason that I really feel that we're intuitive in the body. It's kind of the same thing. I'm sure Sunlighten puts out, okay, for detox, do X amount on this program or whatever, because people want a place to start, but that's all the protocols are. They are a place to start. So we say 3 to 5 minutes per area as tolerated, because you might be working on, say, the top of your thigh, and it feels amazing, and you're breaking into new ground. Don't stop. Keep going, and don't be like, oh, today was the top of the leg. I didn't have a chance to do the back. Like, it's just not that rigid, Again, I go back to when in doubt, blast it out.
I love it. I love it. It's a great thing to.
Uh-oh, I think she's frozen again. All right, if you can still hear me, I just wanted to co-sign about the stretching and or weightlifting or yoga. I have always had an issue with going to the gym where they're like blowing air conditioning, and some of the cardio equipment is like putting fans on you. Like, that is just not an effective way to train. It is so much better to train when you are not, we're not talking about getting to heat exhaustion, but you definitely want to have the blood pumping. What happens to the fascia is it gets much looser when it's heated. It actually changes states a little bit, so I am a fan of doing everything once you're seriously warmed up. And I think I see some people commenting about the NFL players and things like that. I worked with the NFL for years. 10, 12, whatever years, baseball, all of that. And the first thing I had them do was buy a sauna, and just like what Julie was saying, as a body worker, if you can have someone preheat, and that's what people are doing now. It's actually amazing because people who are setting up FasciaBlaster spas or specializing in this, they understand that it's just so much better with the sauna. I hope that we see some of these hot yoga studios start to turn into, hot blasting or hot stretching. There's a reason why, J-Lo's places are blowing up because of that element of heat. So.
Exactly. And the increase, of your core temperature will be scientifically proven. So you're increasing your core temperature, you're getting your everything moving, and then just the combination of fascia blasting with it, and it just makes sense. So you should absolutely, you should do it completely together. Somebody asked about neck tension, if it would be good, if the fascia blasting tool would be good for neck tension. Can you speak to that?
Of course. So when we talk about tension, it's like, well, what is tension, right? So I think what's common knowledge out there is that tension is tight muscles, okay? So that's one piece of the story. But muscle fibers are just like fascial fibers, and they're intended to contract, be neutral, and then stretch. And what happens is that the fascia starts to get sticky, okay? Because muscles are slippery. So anybody out there that's not a vegan, mess with the chicken breast, okay? And you'll see that the meat of the chicken breast is very slippery, but then the white stuff that's around it and through it, that's the stuff that gets sticky. So when we have tension, what's actually happening is that our neck got tight and maybe didn't go all the way back to normal. And then the fascia held it there, because without the fascia, our muscles would always keep this action going. So for tension anywhere in the body, fascia blasting is like, it's just next level. You know, people will tell me all the time that, you know, they go to a massage where you're really addressing the muscles, which by the way, we all love. I'm not saying don't do it. But, you know, 15 minutes later, they're still feeling tight. And it's just because the fascia isn't being addressed, you know, and when you use the tools, it's more like a whisking into those muscle fibers. And so you're actually breaking up the stickiness so that the muscle can be free. It's just it's a different method that accomplishes hopefully the same thing or better.
So speaking of massage, Ashley, Cecil asks, as a massage therapist, should I have the client sauna and blast before or after the massage?
So if the therapist isn't going to incorporate fascia blasting into the actual treatment, then I would say to do it before. But I mean, before? Ideally, a massage therapist, what we would love to see is for them to heat and then get on the table and do a light blast of that surface tissue. And then you can go in with your elbows, and then you can go in with the deeper tools. So if we just keep it really simple, we want to go layer by layer by layer by layer, right? And get deeper and deeper and deeper. That's the goal of massage therapy, is to have that not be painful. And I can tell you that when you use the fascia blaster tools and heat prior to the massage, number one, it's 1,000 times easier on your hand because the tissue is like butter. It's like melting, you know, before your eyes, and all of that fascia, like I said, it's like wiggled loose. So now when you do your massage, you've got that pliability. So here's my little instructor's training: fascia first, and then you take it from there.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. If you have the ability, I'm going to give one more tip. And a lot of people don't have the ability to be able to have massage incorporated with fascia and sauna, because you either, unless you're doing it at your home, or unless where you're going has a Sunlighten sauna and massage and fascia blasting. But I do want to, you know, I always shoot for the stars, right? So if you have, like, the ideal is exactly what Ashley just said. And then if you can conclude with sauning at the end, that is the dream. That's the dream package, because you're really getting like that whole sweat aspect. The sweat is extremely, extremely powerful for healing the body and for removing those toxins that you just spent a lot of time, you know, working on. And so that would be the dream package. And I just wanted to throw it out there in case somebody has the ability to do that. Let's see here.
In between treatments, you know, for me, when I originally invented the Fascia Blaster, you know, I was flying all around the country, and I had these like higher end treatments, right, with I don't know, baseball players or celebrities or people who had issues while filming a movie or whatever. So it wasn't like I had a clinic where they were all coming, right? And it wasn't like I could get to every week. So I might see my customers, I don't know, once, twice, 3 times a month. And so I was really looking for them to have maintain the work that I was doing in between the treatments. And so the Fascia Blaster is amazing at that, meaning, like, let's just say your facility doesn't have a sauna and doesn't have a Fascia Blaster. You can still send the patient home and tell them, hey, get in the sauna and blast in between treatments. And I know massage therapists are like, oh, well, I hope that doesn't take away from, you know, my business. I promise you, you are establishing a need for tissue work that they're going to come to you more often.
That's great. Great tip. Terry says, I'm on the Sunlighten sauna website. Thank you, Terry. What sauna would be the best for me? We would need
Impulse 8-person.
Yeah, Impulse is pretty fantastic. There's nothing not to like. But really, Terry, it really depends. We're all about the right fit, the right match. So it really depends on what's going on in your life, what you're looking for, how much space do you have? Do you need all 3 wavelengths? You know, would you be fine with the far infrared? We also have a handheld, you know, near infrared device. So if you could give us a call or
Oh, I can tell you this, Sunlighten has insane customer service, and they're really amazing about, like, picking up the phone and telling you exactly what you need. But I know for my FasciaBlaster sisters, what I would tell you is that you want the impulse for the near, far, and median infrared. And then you would want one big enough that you could blast inside. So I don't know. Have you ever tried blasting anybody like in the 2-person? I know for me, it's like legs up and
Yeah, the 2-person is not ideal for if you're gonna blast inside for sure. I mean, you definitely want, somebody asked about, I thought I saw a question if somebody said, can I blast in the 1-person? I mean, as I'm sitting here, right, like just in a chair, I mean, you can absolutely do things. But I mean, if you're trying to really get into your body, in a more comfortable way, and here's bottom line, like what I think is, if you want to create a new habit, you have to be able to have an enjoyable experience, right? So if it's kind of strange and contortionistic, you may not keep doing that. I wouldn't, maybe you are, maybe that's completely fine. So I would try and create your, blasting, your fascia blasting and Sunlighten, package to have the type of experience that you will do as much as possible, because you want, as Ashley was saying, I mean, it's clear, I've got it, that you want to fascia blast as much as you can, so that's great. And as on the Sunlighten side, you want to, I mean, if you could incorporate Sunlighten into your daily lifestyle where
Yep.
that's part of your routine, that's ideal. And so if you can do them together, even better. But in order to do them together, you need enough space. So for the portable unit,
She's out again. They have so many different size saunas, you guys. I know for me, again, I'm like a pie in the sky person. This is so much a part of my life that, I went for the biggest one that they had. And I tell you what, I definitely use it. And so for me, it just comes down to like affording it and like, can you get some financing going? I don't know. To me, it is just it's not just like, ooh, I have a nice sauna in my house. Like, it is literally the difference in bedridden and, up and going and athletic. So I'm probably your best advocate.
yay.
How important it is. When people say that it's expensive or something, like, I'm like, it's for the value add. Right. It's, you just can't put a price tag on the way that you feel. I mean, honestly, even the CEO of my company, I bought her a sauna for her birthday because she was like, oh, I'm just aching. And I'm like, you don't have to.
Right. That's so key. That's so key. I love that you said that. That's one of my favorite things to tell people about. Like, I get really frustrated because I hear people like, oh, that's just aging. That's just this. That's just that.
Wow,
That's
bullshit.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's so not true. That's not true. You need to change that tape that you play in your head and fix it, and if you use your Sunlighten every day and you drink your water and you have proper nutrition and you take care of yourself, you don't have to go through all of those aches and pains. So,
living example, because I am as injured as someone could be. I mean, I've had 23 surgeries on my hip alone, not to mention C-sections and a history of a lifelong of arthritis. Wrap your brain around that. I've been diagnosed with everything on the planet. And I'm telling you, I would move into my sauna and put a bed in it before I would give that up, because it is absolutely the way that I am able to maintain myself. I can't. It's so crazy to me that everybody doesn't have one.
Right. No, I totally agree. It's part of my lifestyle. It's part of, like, it's like, I, have my hot water and I have my sauna. Like, I do, it's just part of what I do, and I can't imagine not doing it. And I know for sure, I feel a major difference. I mean, when I was doing some athletic training, man, I couldn't wait to get down there and get in there. And I mean, because it just
work out that soreness.
Right. Exactly. So we need to start to wrap it up. So I want to make sure we get to the promotions and as well as any last like burning questions or any last tips that you want to share, Ashley, before we sign off. Let's start with you.
Well, I think for me, the tips are just jump in, buy the beginner's kit. Unless you want to go the full Monty, we have like a 60% off what we call our platinum kit. So if you're sitting here and you're totally sold, go get that one. If not, get the beginner kit and just get going, get involved in the social media, because it really is a lifestyle and you're not alone. Like there's a reason why there's awards back here. Millions of people are doing this. And I think that sometimes we do feel crazy. It's like, oh, I bought this weird thing. It like, no, stop it. This is medically and scientifically proven to regenerate the tissue, which is, if you're a Sunlighten buyer, that's what you signed up for with your sauna. So it's a perfect marriage. Jump in. You don't need the advice from me on this, Ashley's special tips, because you're joining a family of Fasciablasting, families that this is just what they do. So it's going to be a life-changing thing for you. And we're here for it. We're ready.
Yep. I totally agree. And just like Ashley said, incorporating a sauna, like doing the two together. It's so interesting because I've seen so many people on this chat that have a sauna but don't have a fascia blaster, and so many people that have fascia blaster but don't have a sauna. So get the Sunlighten and fascia blast package. Like do it both, and I would just, like Ashley said, I would just get started, because I mean the one thing you can't get more of in life is time. And, you can't turn back the clock. You don't get to have, it be August 17th ever again, 2021. So go ahead and go for it. I know on the Sunlighten side, we have all sorts of different ways to finance. We'll definitely, if you're just looking for detox, we can help you get a product that isn't as expensive as Impulse. Impulse is, if you're only going to get it once ever and hold on to it, that's the way I would go, because you get near infrared, mid infrared, and far infrared, as well as the 6 programs, as well as the tablet, as well as the access to all these social media tools. And I love listening to music. I love doing acoustic resonance therapy, sound therapy. I was going to say, mine has the iPad, so you could just put on your Ashley Black videos and yes,
go for it.
Love that. Yeah,
my biggest thing is to the whole audience, don't let finances be what holds you back. I know there's a lot of people out there struggling with COVID and everything like that, but we have interest-free financing through Sezzle. I know you guys have a great financing program. I would say give up whatever you've got to give up, because this is about how you feel. And also, this isn't a temporary thing. It's not like shooting up Botox and, 4 months later, you got to do it again. This is something that's actually going to restore and regenerate your body. And like you said, the clock is ticking on all of us. So I wouldn't wait another day. If you've ever been on the fence, take that jump on both products and let us try to make it as soft as possible.
Exactly. And Sunlighten is going to help. We have an Ashley Black promotion, so we'll put that in there. Ashley will put her information. We're going to do everything we can to help you guys and to get both together. And we, just like Ashley said, as far as joining the FasciaBlasting family on the Sunlighten side, we're the same way. You're joining the Sunlighten family, you're with us for life. And we want, part of our vision and mission is to, bring light, hope, and happiness to the world, and have you part of our family for life. So we welcome you to the community. And we're so thrilled, Ashley, that you spent the time. I do want you to come back so we can talk about B. So I would love I am just, very, very passionate about empowering women, and it's so important to be there for each other and to have a support network. It's really, it's tough. It can be really, really challenging. And so I'd love you to come back and speak to that, and we could chat about the book. So on that note, thank you all and I didn't get to all the questions, but I promise you on the Sunlighten side, as well as I am sure on Ashley's side, we're going to get to all of your questions. So be patient with us. You guys asked a lot, and we'll put all of the content in there. And thanks for choosing to spend your time. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, but Ashley like powered through, and
oh, no worries.
You guys did not miss
all about because we're giving away a Sunlighten sauna.
You're giving away a Sunlighten sauna? Tell us about that.
You are. You know what? I'm like the conceptual person, so I just know that it's happening, but I see people, saying that they want one and how do they get the code and all this kind of stuff. But we are giving people a chance to win one. So hopefully my social media team can drop it in the comments, like what the details are. But yeah, we were thinking like, how could we really bribe our audience? Like, what is the one thing they really want?
Hey, I hope everybody heard that. And we definitely need to make sure we play that soundbite over and over again, because that's really powerful. And Ashley, thank you so much for doing that. That is just such a beautiful gesture and so important. And I mean, right now with COVID, with everything going on, we didn't even talk about the immunity and, and boosting the immunity and all of that. But, I can't express enough how important this is to take care of yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you.
Amen.
Nobody. Ashley's making it as easy as possible by giving it away, and she'll instruct you how to register. And I hope, somebody that's watching today wins, because how fantastic. Yes, Anne-Marie, I know. I'm so glad you heard that, she's giving one away. That's so fantastic. So she will put everything out there. Thank you for doing that. Thank you all for listening. We need to sign off now, and I really appreciate your time and energy. And I can't wait to have you back to talk about B.
Yes, for sure. We're so excited. Thank you to both audiences to spend a little bit of your afternoon with us. And we hope you join both of the families, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.